All right, everybody, welcome to the Karpenter AWS provider working group meeting on September 15th. Um, we'll start by going through the untriaged issues. I think there are just two new ones that we haven't looked at, or there's a good number. Some of these must have been reset. We can start with the top one here and go down. If there are specific issues people are hoping to get to, feel free to put them in the Zoom chat and we'll make sure that we get to them by the end of the meeting. Because I don't think there's enough here for an hour. All right. So I've seen this one before. I think this is a SA or a TAM or something who pinged us internally um, to try to diagnose create fleet API calls. We can log fleet ID as the response as well. Jonathan, looks like you already looked at this one, but you have a major objections.
No, I think I was fleshing out the requirement. So I mean, I just marked this as root, trash root,
Yeah,
and good first issue.
I agree. I can update the labels to be triage accepted. Remove needs triage. Good first issue. Anybody else have any comments on this one before we move on? All right. Extended SSM parameter use case. So I think this refers to you can select on parameter name.
I think the issue is that the parameter that we look up only checks for ID. So the path that you pass in, like if it's not NAMI ID, it's not valid.
Ah,
But the only issue, oh, I guess that works. Yeah, yeah. I assume they have like a common platform where they're, fending out the AMIs and they have an SSM parameter on that platform.
yeah.
They would
I'm
just
surprised you
attach an
can't.
owner to the SSM parameter.
Surprised you can't already do this somehow. Either like selecting by tags. Suppose you have to update the tag on the AMI.
So you could do the name. I just forget what the reason is. Oh yeah, it's so that the name, yeah, so as they update the AMI, the name would change. And they don't want to have to update it everywhere, basically. They could
Hmm.
theoretically give the same name, but I think, yeah, they'd have to delete the old AMI first. That doesn't really work
Why couldn't you still do selection by tags?
because you have to then tag in every account that consumes the
Uh,
AMI. Yeah,
that
this is
is
the
annoying.
classic, like the tags are not from the owning account issue. So SSM is like the best way to solve that problem. If you have like a platform team that's vending out your AMIs or security team that's vending out your AMIs, like this makes it the easiest way to do it, basically.
Anybody have any objections? I think it makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Seems like it'd be easy too.
Yeah. Good first issue.
Yep.
Sure. All right. Now we're getting to the older ones that are still in needs triage. V cluster support. This is, yeah. I've troubleshooted some issues before with V cluster on running Karpenter on a V cluster, and there are quite a few things that don't work. Um,
Interesting. So it's like the B cluster controller is spinning up these pods, and those pods are not actually owned by him, it's that they're owned by something else. Is that the it's happening?
I think so. There's a number of other issues, like I saw an issue with like nodes joining the V cluster that when Carpenter provisioned nodes for the V cluster, they wouldn't join properly. When I was looking into a ticket with this issue, or when they were running a V cluster
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if there's enough issues, maybe worth consolidating these kind of
into a V
to
cluster
like,
support.
yeah. I'm curious if somebody would like write down the problems they're running into, or if it's limited, if it's literally just this one problem, then
It's just so far
maybe
as this one issue.
maybe not. I don't know. Might be worth asking it if there's anything else that breaks.
I'll just leave that comment and leave it in needs triage or needs investigation. All right. Spot on demand fallback logs. Two separate node pools, one for spot instances, another for on demand. Instead of a single node pool with spot on demand. Prometheus label for instance tendency, spot versus on. Okay, interesting. For our metrics, they're saying, I'm assuming. Oh yeah.
Maybe I'm going crazy. We do have the capacity type on our metrics.
Which metric are you thinking of?
I didn't read the issue. I was just looking at, no claims created, no claims disrupted, no claims terminated,
I
as
believe
well
you're
as
correct.
what?
I said I believe you're correct. That capacity
No,
type.
I'm looking at the code. Yeah, it's there. But the but then also node and node claim also have it just by I think. Well, yeah, I thought they were added to by somebody else. It's on a bunch of things actually.
Okay, they also have the second issue about controlling the shift from one node pool to the other. Is an interesting use case for a budget, just saying like consolidate after is 30 minutes to basically say only do one every 30 minutes. I don't know if that works.
And consolidate after, yeah, that doesn't achieve it for you. I think this has been something that's been raised in the past around disruption budgets. More so in that people think it's how disruption budgets work, which is you're saying like over this period of time you can do n disruptions rather than you can do n concurrent disruptions.
Yeah.
I can see the use case for both.
Yeah. We just don't do the latter currently.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know for sure how strong the use case is. I can at the very least see why people would want it, though I'm not sure it actually makes a tangible difference in practice. I just need to hear more use cases.
Yeah. Yeah. During deployments, we see a large burst in node provisioning. Interesting. I assume because Karpenter sees the extra pods before the old ones are cleaned up, and then, or maybe we consolidate the spot in the meantime. There's +1 to this other issue. You to configure retry behavior when spot capacity is temporarily unavailable. We'd prefer to wait a bit for spot capacity before falling back to on demand. This is, oh, interesting. Like you could say, hey, for this node pool, try don't ice instances until you get like 10 concurrent ice responses. I don't know how frequently that will result in you actually getting an instance that you ordinarily wouldn't have.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how long, because it sounds like they more so want configurable, like a configurable fallback timeout.
And if that fallback timeout is, I would be, we'd have to go ask EC2, but I would be curious to know, you kind of can't, how long an ice will last for, because you need to know if the capacity is going to ever open up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any magic number.
Yeah.
It's going to vary wildly from pool to pool. And well, not just from pool to pool, but from pool to pool, depending on the day, depending on the hour, etc. Um, yeah, I see this more so as like you have an availability requirement that after you can only wait so long before you do a scale up. And you want to try to minimize cost by prioritizing spot, but if you fail within that SLA, you just need to give up and go to on demand.
Yeah.
So I see the time. My assumption, at least, would be that the time would be more so driven by business requirements than trying to estimate like ice recovery windows.
I'm sure that there'd be some give and take there, you know, where you could say, hey, we could save 30% if we reduce our availability this much, and then people can argue about that, you know. But
Right. Yeah, I can see that being interesting. I think it makes fallback even more difficult to reason about.
yeah, I'm gonna ask what would they set this to? I, I think that's useful to know if we're talking like order of magnitude. Like, are they like wait for a couple hours, or are they like try 3 times, or like wait 30 seconds? Because I feel like that's very different requirements.
Right. Yeah, and it would be good to know like what factors you're thinking of tuning this on. Like, is it just trying to gauge ice recovery, or is it like modeling business requirements? Because if it's trying to just gauge ice recovery, I think there's more intelligent things we could do with our ice timing mechanism that don't require user configuration.
Yeah.
Like right now, it's just always a 3-minute TTL.
And then the last question was on configurable unavailable cache duration, which I don't know if we have an issue for already.
Um, I want to say we do. I'm just going off memory though.
Try searching ice.
Back on given that you as a user can't really have better information on it than we do.
It's too many.
I'm not sure we did create it.
I thought someone else did. You're talking about like an ice adjustable ice cache TTL issue?
Yeah, the dynamic ice cache piece that you're talking about.
Oh, I don't know if we created a dynamic one. I know we talked about it. Um, I'm more so thinking like someone opened an issue of let me set it to 5 minutes or 1 minute, etc. Yeah, I don't think there's any issue about more like dynamic timing. Though I could be mistaken.
Um, so I guess we need to clarify the requirements here for why they want to configure it. Um, are they trying to set it dynamically for or statically for everything? Like they're just like your TTL is wrong, or are they saying, um, I want to be able to configure it for this subset of instances to be higher or lower?
Yeah, I think that would be good information to have because I think generally speaking, having like an adjustable fallback period, well, I could potentially see the use case. That's something that's just hard to configure right. I could see it being misused a lot. So it'd be good to understand if that's an actual requirement.
All right. Back to the needs triage. Metrics for spot instances. Monitoring if a problem exists for provisioning a spot instance. Does don't we already I mean, we already log it. I guess that's not a metric, but we say here's the like EC2 errors you're getting back. I don't know if we would want to enumerate every single possible error response as a metric. So I guess the question is, why is max spot instance count different for them?
I mean, yeah, I can see you wanting to build alarms off it, but I mean, you can build alarms based on log entries as well. Yeah, because I do think it's probably a lot less useful when you think about the other ice related errors or spot related errors you get back from Freight Fleet. Like unfulfillable capacity, for example, doesn't tell you much.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want to just build an alarm off of like I got iced.
I think we may have this status condition. I forget if this is a reason, but if it's a reason in our node claim metrics, then it would just auto wire through the status condition metrics.
I think the issue though, right, is with the status condition metric, you don't get the message. So
I
like
think it's
you
a
get
I
the
think it's a
instance launch failed.
I think it's a reason is what I'm saying.
Oh,
I'd have to
max spot capacity would be the reason.
I think so. Like you could check the errors.go file where we do the error parsing instead of the cloud provider AP or repo. If
Okay.
it's there, then yeah.
Interesting. I did not realize that.
If you go to package errors, yeah, that guy. At the bottom. Hmm. Okay, maybe not. Oh, because we treat this as an ice error, so I guess it wouldn't be a create error. No, actually. Oh, the issue is that it's
Max spot
it would,
instance count exceeded. No, the exact one they want is here.
well, the issue is that the no claim gets deleted immediately because it's an ice issue. So we wouldn't actually log this.
Okay. They should still be able to build observability off of the logging.
Yeah, for sure. Well, actually, it's not an error. Like it's a fleet error, but it's not a true error. So I don't know if it actually gets logged.
It's not
Interesting.
a true error in what sense? Like it's a 200?
It's a 200 from fleet with because they have remember if they have like fleet errors as a body of the response.
Yes.
And so that I think it's in the fleet errors. I don't think it's part of the actual AWS response.
Got it.
So I think it may not be there, which may be the issue.
Jonathan, so are you saying that this would just show up as unfulfillable capacity and not the exact like underlying error? That's
I mean,
what you're
that's
trying to
what,
say,
yeah, I mean,
right?
that's what Derek just showed because it's on the fillable capacity error codes.
I Okay, I mean, maybe we can ask them, but I thought that I had seen something like that with the underlying error as well being logged, but maybe we could ask them.
I don't think we log every fleet error because otherwise we'd have like a massive set of fleet errors when we get iced. But anyway, we can take a look. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's a pretty good argument for this one max fleet, max amount instance count exceeded is different because they're running into like a kind of like count limit, and you might want to know that. So we could like whitelist specific errors. Karpenter isn't removing the finalizer. Five upvotes. You think it's their team or? Oh, did we already fix it? Did people put what version of Carpenter they're running, or do you, okay, 1.5. They're saying they're seeing it in. Man, it'd be really nice to know on every PR what version of Carpenter is the latest version at the time.
I mean, the closest you can get is you can click on the commit merge SHA. So if you see that,
Merge.
yeah, and then you
Yeah.
can,
I mean, you can backtrack it from here. You can browse files and then
no,
find the
like the tag is there, right?
oh version 1.6.2. Okay. So yeah,
So
so
you,
this is newer than 1.5. You're saying this?
yep, I mean, that's what I use all the time.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good to know. They're already solved. Site triage needs information. Yeah, the very old version of Carpenter. So much information. That's nice. They're saying this is a bug. For my edification, do we support versions as old as 0.37 anymore?
I think in general, we best effort issues when they're open.
Okay. Because I have
30
no experience with pre 1.0 Carpenter.
Yeah,
I don't know how we handled PDBs back then. I think this was before we switched to. Do I have this right? At some point, we switched to just letting the API server handle PDBs.
I mean, we've always allowed the API server to handle PDBs. Like through the eviction API.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so if their potential solutions are introducing config, I think it's safe to say that we're not going to support this. Unless this is still an issue in later versions of Carpenter. Folks agree, disagree?
I mean, I think there is an issue we understand where like many overlapping PDBs can like not overlapping PDBs on a pod, but if you have a mix of different PDBs on a node, you may get them stuck consolidatable for a prolonged or stuck unconsolidatable for a prolonged period of time. I think that is something we do want to solve. I'm still on my phone, so I'm not really able to read the issue all too well.
That's fair.
I don't know if it's a similar issue here.
I'm gonna put it in needs investigation. I'm gonna ask the other person who said they're running into this issue if they're also seeing it on a late version of Carpenter. And I'm gonna ask the person who opened it if I'm gonna ask out of curiosity what's preventing them from upgrading to a newer version of Carpenter. Carpenter killing pods immediately after receiving a spot message. What version? 1.5. We are performing forceful termination.
Be good to understand what they actually mean by forceful termination there.
I mean, it says it in the event logs, evicted pod forceful terminations, but I don't know if that's
That's
what
from
they actually.
Carpenter.
No, I think that's from the API server. Like we called evicted, or somebody called the pod eviction API. But I don't know why I would say forceful termination. I don't know what makes this get set.
I'm not sure off the top of my hand either. Does that just mean the pod reached its termination grace period seconds?
Oh, I already responded to this at some point. Wow. Oh yeah, I was like, can you be more specific about the timeline? I remember this issue. Oh, they're saying the app is working properly and respecting the termination grace period seconds, despite the forceful termination message. Interesting. There's probably an actual issue here then. It's already marked triage needs investigation. We can come back to it. So let's finish up the last issue first. Currently, Karpenter operators using IMDS-v1 to retrieve AWS region info from the metadata. It's use IMDS-v2. Yeah, I'm not sure if we use. New config, get region. Yeah, I think this is IMDS-v1. Okay. I think we will need to do this. I'm going to accept it unless people have objections.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody in the call have any issues they'd like to take a look at before we start deep diving onto this killing pod immediately after receiving spot interruption issue? We've got 15 minutes left. If there's any not in this list. Going once. All right, we're deep diving. Let's see. In the node pool, termination grace period, 10 minutes on the node pool. The pod has termination grace period seconds set to 100 in the spec. Nominated, successful, create. These logs are not super useful because I don't know if they're in the correct order. They're all at 43 minutes, but I would love to know because the spot rebalance recommendation comes in before the spot interruption warning. Taint eviction controller. That's not a Karpenter controller, right?
No, that's the KCM controller.
That's what I thought. Restop hook call. Okay, so I think there are two issues here. The first one is that the original person who opened the issue, Arnaldo, it is confused by the eventing in the events on the pod that say forceful termination, but Karpenter is actually respecting it. And then there's other people saying, then there's this other issue down here where Max, I assume that's their name. Yeah, Max is seeing the pod not receiving a pre-stop hook call, but that isn't Carpenter's responsibility. We just call the eviction API. And I assume Kubelet handles that. I don't actually know that much about the hooks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right that kubelet would be the component that actually invokes the pre-stop hook.
So we're calling, that seems like they'd be seeing an issue in KCM or KCP.
Yeah. Now, so if they have termination grace period configured, it's possible we're not calling the eviction API, and we are
Which
doing a delete.
Oh, a delete on the node.
Well, no, delete on
Before.
the pod. So yeah, the way that termination grace period works is when you are, once you get like within the window of that termination grace period expiring. So like, let's say you have a pod with a 30-minute termination or a 30-second termination grace period seconds, and you're 30 seconds away from the node's termination grace period expiring. We call kubectl delete rather than the eviction API. That being said, that shouldn't affect how pre-stop hooks are invoked. That just means we'll bypass PDBs.
Interesting. Okay. So let's summarize this here. Ready? There. Two events. Is saying the original issue was the problem. Oh yeah, they're just saying it's the events. Right. Any issues with that, folks? I don't think I've said anything incorrect. Going once. Going twice.
I think that looks good.
All right. Folks can correct me on the issue if they see other issues. Cool. I think that's all the issues and needs triage. Does anybody have any other issues they want to take a look at? We have 3 minutes left, so if there's something folks want to talk about, otherwise we can end a little early. I don't think we'll have time to deep dive on another needs investigation issue. Cool. Going once.
Thanks, Derek.
All right. Thanks everybody for coming.